In order. First up tonight, we have a couple of proclamations. First up is Law Enforcement Officers Week and Peace Officers Memorial Day. Whereas Congress and the President of the United States have designated a National Peace Officers Memorial Day during Law Enforcement Officers Week, and whereas the members of law enforcement agencies of Jackson County play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedom of our citizens of the county, and whereas members of law enforcement recognize their duty to serve the people of Jackson County by safeguarding life and property, by protecting them against violence and disorder, and by protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression or intimidation. And whereas during Law Enforcement Officers Week and throughout the year, the County of Jackson recognizes and appreciates the critical contributions and sacrifices made by members of law enforcement at all levels and honors their courage and dedication. Now, therefore, the Jackson County Board of Commissioners do hereby proclaim May 15th through 21st, 2024 as Law Enforcement Officers Week and May 15th, 2024 as Peace Officers Memorial Day in Jackson County and commend its observance to all citizens. Is there a motion to approve this proclamation?
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
None opposed. Tonight we have Sheriff Doug Farmer, Chief Deputy Patrick McCoy, Captain Tony Cope, and Corporal C.B. Hooper to accept this proclamation. Gentlemen. Excuse me. Next up, we have proclamation. It's purple as Jackson County is a Purple Heart County. Whereas the Purple Heart is the oldest decoration in present use and was initially created as a badge of military merit by General George Washington in 1782. And whereas the Purple Heart was the first American Service Award or decoration made available to the common soldier and is specifically awarded to any member of the United States Armed Services wounded or killed in combat with a declared enemy of the United States. And whereas the mission of the Military Order of the Purple Heart, chartered by an act of Congress, is to foster an environment of goodwill among the combat wounded veteran members and their families, promote patriotism, support legislative initiatives, and most importantly, make sure we never forget. And whereas Jackson County residents have been engaged in most, if not all, of the wars against a declared enemy fought by the United States. And whereas Jackson County has numerous residents who have been awarded the Purple Heart Medal for wounds received in combat. And whereas Jackson County recognizes the commitment and increasing sacrifices required of military families, and whereas Jackson County pledges its ongoing commitment to and support for the men and women who so honorably serve our nation. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Jackson County Board of Commissioners hereby declares Jackson County as a Purple Heart County. Is there a motion for this proclamation to be approved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed. Tonight, we have from the Veteran Services Officer, Sheila Crumpler. Ms. Crumpler? Thank you. Moving on now to our agenda. If there's no need to make any changes, I'll seek a motion for approval of the agenda.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed? Looking over minutes, we have our work session from April 9th, 2024, and our regular meeting minutes from April 16th. If there's no need for any changes, I'll seek a motion for approval of both sets of minutes.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed? Moving on now to chairman report. Seen a lot of things going on in the county. It's nice to see 107 starting to get paved. Spring's coming on. I know Greening Up the Mountains was a couple weekends ago, and it was wonderful to come down and see that. But besides that, I don't really have much to report this time. Does any other commissioners have?
Just want to give accolades to the town and businesses that were involved with the Green Up the Mountains. It was I haven't heard the numbers yet, but I think it was the largest crowd of all the greening of the mountains that I've attended, and that's probably 3/4 of them. And it was, that weather was overcast, it kept it cool, it wasn't hot. It was a wonderful way to spend the day.
Any other reports? Okay, moving on now to our county manager report. Mr. King.
So I've given you a project dashboard, and I was going to go over this a little bit. We can go over it tonight, or I can wait till the work session, but we can go over it tonight if you'd like to. So the Jackson County Aquatic Center, 85% complete. Looks like we're on track for it to be complete by July of 2024. The next project is Center for Domestic Peace. We had a kickoff meeting on the 26th of April, and the proposed, I think the notice to proceed for the first phase is on the 29th of April, and the second phase will be on July 13th. I think at some point after probably mid-phase, there'll be a groundbreaking ceremony, so we'll try to schedule that probably in June. The Casualty Naval Recreation area, as you can see, it's not been bid yet. We are working on looking at some stormwater issues, and I'm going to work through the permitting process with that. The Webster Park, the equipment has been ordered, and our crew is ready to, as quick as that gets back mid-May, we'll be putting that in. The Whittier Quala Park, kind of the same thing. We are waiting on some issues with the sewer, not issues. Sewer and water lines have been relocated, so we're going to have to work through that to get that project started, but it should be bidding pretty soon. The Dillsbury complex is 100% or 99% complete. I think there are some punch list items, and I think that we're going through the process of some HVAC problems with that facility, so we're still engaging H&M constructors on some of those issues. Department of Aging, Chad and I are going out this week and looking at that building. We did receive an informal bid from H&M of $557,000, which is, of course, going into the formal bid scenario. And so we are looking at different alternatives, engaging a structural engineer to maybe come up with a different option, rather than, because that is a lot of money compared to the original budget. So we are looking at different options for that, and we'll be getting back to you on that proposal. The Canada Fire Department and Community Center, this week y'all did receive a letter, I think through email, from the Canada Fire Department requesting full autonomy, I guess, in the building, utilization of the building, with the mind that they would be in charge of setting the community rooms set aside for the public. So that's a different conversation. But we have engaged Odell Thompson, architect, to work on the scope of work for the building and get that scope of work ready for us so we can do a bidding process, because it is a pretty extensive project. Mark Watson Park paving. We are looking at different alternatives because that area seems to have some wetness issues. So we did some soil borings. Maybe looking at utilizing county staff to do some concrete rather than asphalt. I have explored that, and will be a cost savings initiative as well. So I think we're going to proceed down that route until so we'll be bringing that back to you as soon as possible. Jackson County Justice Center, there was 250,000 put in the budget for that this year, and we did engage also Odell Thompson to look into different scenarios. So right now we're just still in the early programming stages, but we're bringing back a recommendation to the board as soon as possible, probably mid July. Drexel plant, this is part of our budget thought process. Have engaged some stakeholders and some folks involved in that, and trying to come up with maybe a solution. And I know we've heard some during the budget process. We heard the board's thoughts on that, and we have kind of eased those into the conversation. So we'll see how far we get with that, and bring it back to you. The county operations fiber connectivity project. I just put this in here just to kind of let you know about looking at efficiencies and trying to work through some processes. Our buildings are not connected; they're each independently, and so this would be a cost saving measure, and also it would be a efficiency because we can have servers in one area, so it would actually save a lot of money. So we're working through that process as well. You heard a presentation from the folks for the outdoor recreation, and did put the Dillsbury River Park on there, and I've started kind of looking back at history, what has been looked at in the past, maybe what it could be in the future, and so engaging both recreation department and economic development in that discussion. And then the Greenway project, which we've over the last several months have been acquiring additional properties. So we're about 40% complete with that, and that's not just the acquisition of property, but it's also the Greenway itself. So it's 40% of the whole project. So it's complete. Any questions?
Drexel plant, didn't we set aside some money to do some cores for the embankments?
Didn't get the grant.
Yeah, okay.
So I guess I think we need to explore that, but and maybe fund that study ourselves. That's
Okay.
for
I thought
future
we'd
discussion.
already.
Yeah, I thought we put it in for the budget this year.
Yeah.
Do that.
Yeah, I thought we did too.
25,
Yeah.
24, 25. Yeah, so this fall we could.
Okay.
Is this dashboard, project dashboard, would be available on the website to the public?
It can be.
That'd be good.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think it would be
that'd be
too.
good information for the public.
Okay.
You did a great job on this.
Yeah.
by the way.
Sounds good. That'd help.
Or at least just the percentages of completion and estimated dates.
We don't need budgetary numbers or anything like that. So.
Simple's always better.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Moving on now to informal comments by the public. First up, we have Stephen Anfinson. Mr. Anfinson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and members of the Commissioner Board. My name is Stephen Anfinson. I'm a Jackson County resident, serving as a member of the Department of Social Services Board at present. I'm a professionally trained social worker with 40-plus years of experience in the field of mental health, providing service in a variety of settings, and from clinician up all the way through CEO of organizations. As you know, the department's function is to offer vital social services in Jackson County that safeguard, bolster, and enhance Jackson County residents' quality of life. Services that are provided to all age groups from infancy through senior citizens. This is difficult work that requires commitment, skill, tolerance, and empathy. In addition to continue with the current services in the budget, Mr. Weatherford, the director, has identified some needs that may help address the problems they're having with turnover. And he'd like to add an additional supervisory position in food and nutrition services and sort of rework the duties a bit to increase training, both for new employees onboarding as well as ongoing training for existing staff. He's also put in a request for a second supervisor to address implementation of pilot program designed to keep children out of foster care, which is another chronic need. In considering the Department of Social Services budget request that you'll be seeing, I ask that you view this as an investment in the quality of life for all this county's citizens. In fiscal 2022-23, the Jackson County Department of Social Services generated total revenues of about $103.7 million. Of that total, only about 4% or $4.17 million came from county funds. The state of North Carolina contributed about 22% or $23 million, and the federal government 74% or about $76.5 million of that revenue. So I think most organizations would be exceedingly pleased if they could multiply the dollar value of their service by a factor of about 25. Would also point out the county also receives a value that impacts all citizens, not just service recipients, related to the department's expenditures. This results from what economists at the macro level refer to as the multiplier effect in economic activity. The increase in activity then exceeds the benefits to others who are not extends to benefits to others who are not direct beneficiaries of the department's services. Not all increases of the sort will actually flow down to the county level, but at least some of it does. For example, the USD estimates that every dollar in SNAP benefits generates $1.50 in economic activity. That's the multiplier effect. As an aside, I'd also like to note that there's research to demonstrate a positive impact on family health attributable to SNAP. In summary, then, I ask that the Board of Commissioners fully support the department's request for the budget that will benefit service recipients as well as all county residents in a very cost-efficient manner. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next up, we have Kelly Freeman.
Hey, I'd like to thank Chairman Letson and Mr. Scribbling. I've spoken with them and look forward to speaking with the other board members concerning specifically trying to pin down a workable noise ordinance for the county of Jackson. Enabling our sheriff's department to have some teeth when they go out to patrol. And sometimes they just have to walk away because there's nothing on the books that they can enforce. Literally, there's nothing that they can enforce, whether it be loud noises, drinking, smoking, weed, partying throughout the night till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I live across from Speedwell, on Speedwell Road, across from Prospect Speedwell Apartments. And if you're unfamiliar with those, please review some of the videos that I supplied through Angie Winchester and Mr. Letson, as well as some of the documentation that I've provided for you today. And I look forward to any questions and presenting even more videos and text messages and emails for your review so that we can consider a really much stronger ordinance for the county. And I appreciate your time today. Any questions right now? Okay.
Next, we have Eddie Paris. Mr. Paris.
Thank you for letting me come and talk to you gentlemen today. I was born and raised here in Jackson County. I'm 85 years old today. And I've always worked. I always paid my taxes. Paid over $4,000 last year. My people come from down here at Hillsborough, and my grandpa left the tannery up here. He built as a mines and Sugarloaf. And my brother on P&M Automotive down here in town. I had a used car lot down there in town for 32 years. I spent 4 years on active duty in the U.S. Navy and 6 in the Reserve. Made 3 trips to the Far East, stayed 15 months in the South Pacific. And I live at 140 Speedwell Road, right behind this gentleman. And all we have up there It's parties. Marijuana, screaming, hollering, no noise ordinance. The sheriff's department comes, like he said, you have to walk away. Why go to college? The college can't do that because it's not on campus. They have no buffer zone. They're supposed to have a buffer zone to keep the noise down. They have small dogwood trees, 25 feet apart. We called Mr. Ashley Hill at Prospect. He lives in Athens, Georgia. He owns it. We called him. They have an automatic weapon fire up there of the night, fully automatic weapon fire. They shoot all the time, straight up, and wherever they shoot at night, I don't know, you're afraid to go to bed, so they just shoot you. It's all college students. They come in here from Charlotte, have no respect to the people that live here. You do that, you tell that for driving 107, many of them driving 107. We can't open the door. We can't watch television. We got small kids in the community. The speed limit on 1001 needs to be reduced so we can get in and out of our driveways. You can ask this man right here.
Let's get hit a lot.
You don't have to go buy no marijuana. Church, you don't have to be in it. All you got to do is sit on the porch and breathe. There's so much marijuana up there. It ain't no joke. What am I telling you?
Exactly right.
Let me see what else you can think about. Well, we can't enjoy living there. My wife was born and raised there in 1947, and my daddy lived there before that. And it's in a residential community. And we'd like to have some law enforcement up there to do something with them. If they help, they got these trucks, all these deputies on them, they come up there and wreck them all. It's not like what you see is going on television now, but they not looting and burning, and the girls run around naked. Of course, I don't blame them for that, but guys of age, I would too. But you can ask this gentleman right here; he can tell you what's going on. And nobody won't do nothing about it. What do we need to do? I'd like to have a noise ordinance that you put a stop to when you come up there. Fine them for $1,000. And whatever they're doing. I know I used to drive off roads, but you can hear them all night long speeding up down that road, can't you? And we don't have no highway patrol much in the county. It's come out. I think they got 3 in all of Western North Carolina in the county. You know more about that than I do. Thank you for your time.
Moving on now to new business and the Fontana Regional Library Agreement. And I will turn the floor over to Mr. Cubis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. So first, just want to, you've been circulated a copy of the proposed revised version of the Fontana Regional Library and a local agreement. Just take a step back and remind the board and everyone else what this agreement is. It's essentially an agreement between, entered into and between Jackson County, Macon County, Swain County, and the entity of Fontana Regional Library. And so part of taking that step back is to look at what the purpose of this agreement is and was. And really it's an agreement to promote and perpetuate, per the language of the agreement, excellent library services to the residents of the areas included within the jurisdictions of those counties, and their collaborative and collective efforts under the statutory authority that allows these types of agreements to exist, to operate county libraries and branches of the participating local government units in accordance with the governing statutory authority, North Carolina law, and this agreement. And what I'm highlighting really is the tweaks to the purpose statement of the agreement as it's been presented, and to remind the board of what we're essentially trying to accomplish here, which is a collective agreement between the counties and the Fontana Regional Library entity to make sure that the document that we have in place, which is up for a periodic review, is something that is getting to the heart of what the participating counties want to accomplish through this agreement, and how best to do those things. So we recently met with county attorney for Swain County and came with sort of a consensus on how best to restructure or streamline this agreement that you have before you to make sure that we are getting everyone's considerations into this process to make sure that the Fontana Regional Library interlocal agreement continues to be a living document that folks are happy with and that is carrying out its intended purpose. So we feel pretty good about where we stand with the current revisions as they have been presented to this board. Obviously, this is one step in the process of what's going to be a continuing process in communication with the other counties and Fontana Regional to make sure that everybody is getting an opportunity to have their say in how this ultimately plays out and we finalize this document. As far as Jackson County is concerned, we're very hopeful that we can reach a conclusion on this document and get this situation sort of at a period of closure so that we can move forward with the useful operation of the Fontana Regional Libraries and make sure that we're doing the best for the counties that are part of them. Part of this process includes feedback of all the parties that are to the agreement. And specifically, we have very recently received some feedback and input from Fontana Regional in terms of specific concerns about how changes may or may not comply with North Carolina Administrative Code. I think that is something that we as a county and the board need to take into consideration seriously. First and foremost, we want to make sure that this document is an enforceable legal document and that it's in compliance with state and federal regulations. So sort of the next step of the process is going to be taking this under consideration, speaking with Fontana Regional, speaking with Macon and Swain, and making sure that we've got something that we can all be proud of and that it's going to be something that is enforceable. So that's a brief update on where we are in the process. I'm happy to take any questions from the board if you have any at this time.
Well, I don't have any questions, but the problem I see here is we have lawyers getting in a room discussing things without the input of the commissioners. And I've requested this before. I said, all the counties need to have representation of their commissioners, 2 or 3, whatever it takes. Sit us down in the room, if it takes all day or whatever, hash out what all the counties want. Instead of one county making a change here and then we got to pass it around to all the other counties. Get us in a room, hash it out, and then we'll have something that we don't have to pass around for another 5 or 6 months.
I agree with Commissioner Smith. Here we've kicked this along for months and months. Seems to me like even if we had a regional meeting with, go into actual meeting with all the commissioners, whatever it takes to get to the bottom of it, because here we are, in May, and we're still not any closer, it don't seem like.
Yeah, this process was started last November, and we're not any further along than we were in November when Macon County passed theirs. And again, they should have contacted the rest of us. But if we're going to agree to it as a county, all the counties need to be involved, not 2 lawyers or 3 lawyers or whatever it is, closed up in a room making decisions without input from the commissioner. We're the ones that have to answer to the elected, to our elected. So
Would it be reasonable to ask Mr. Cubis if we could get perhaps 2 commissioners from each board on a set date to be determined in maybe end of May? I know we're coming up on a lot happening, but we could somehow arrange that. That way we have at least a voice in the room, so to speak, beyond just
Mr. Chair, I think that's a great idea, and I've indicated previously that I welcome the input from the commissioners, and I think the notion of lawyers in a room getting caught up in technicalities that's not far-fetched, and unfortunately I think that's something that that has been at play here. So I certainly, I'm totally on board with having the input of this board and, you know, other commissioners to help us streamline this process.
Mr. King, would you spearhead that, contacting the other counties and working something up? Thanks, sir. Sure.
Good point about the attorneys, Commissioner Smith, but and I think the attorney that should be in that room should be governmental attorneys that deal with county government, because the Macon County agreement was written by a private citizen attorney.
It was vetted by their attorney as well, from what I understood.
I didn't understand. I heard different. So
Okay.
that'd be a good thing to work out in that
Right,
meeting.
that'd be a good thing to know.
The other thing is, one thing about the public comment, applause that. That's a great point to have public comment. But I question in this language, I've been involved in a lot of boards and committees. Never has the chair had to answer questions to the public. We're not allowed to engage with public comment. So I think that needs to be taken out.
It leads to confrontation.
Oh, of course. And then the other, there's in Part C of powers and duties, I think that's on page 2. There's under that, most of that paragraph is written according to the North Carolina General Statute 160A-102, and that refers to cities and towns. A library is not a city or a town, so why is that language even in there? That's another concern that I have. The public. See, I can read my writing, my handwriting. Public hearing, no policy. As a matter of fact, there are 12 regional library systems in North Carolina, and none of them have this language in their agreements. So, you know, that's another, looking at seeing what other regional libraries language has is important. These are all things that we can bring to that meeting.
Right.
And also on job descriptions, there's I think that's on page 4. There's 2 words that I'm not comfortable with. It requires I'm trying to read it. A job description of the director shall be placed in the Fontana Regional Library's website. Well, all job descriptions currently are on existing website, and not just the directors. So that's already done. And it says the 2 words I don't like on that is for transparency. But that sends a signal to me that there was lack of transparency. So those 2 words shouldn't even be in there, because the audits, their minutes, their budgets are all online currently. So, you know, take those 2 words for transparency out. And there's some other, I hadn't done my homework. I only had I didn't get a hard copy till today. And I'm a paper kind of guy, and reading it on my phone and iPad, I just can't sometimes go back page to page and remember where my real train of thought is. But I will say, Swain County Commissioners met this morning.
They didn't like it.
They didn't like it, and they put they're not even going to deal with the agreement until it's reworked. And maybe that's what Jackson County can bring to the board
I
for
think
both
we'll get done
counties.
a lot quicker if we can get people in the room that's going to be making decisions, which is us as commissioners, Macon County's commissioner, and Swain's commissioner. Ultimately, that's who's going to vote yea or nay.
The problem about it is, us as a board, I think that we get along pretty well. But other counties, they may not have, you know, if 2 come, the other 3 may not agree with
Well,
it.
they need to, as a board, they need to select 2 people.
Have one of each side come. That's,
Yeah.
you know,
And I wouldn't care if it was a whole board from each county.
I would like to have the whole board myself, because, I mean, I was elected by the people, and I have to answer to the people, just like, you know, the people that elected you. You know, some were the same, some wasn't. But
I think that we get too many people in there, it's going to cause. I mean, maybe it starts with 2 from each board, and then as we get closer to an agreed upon agreement, we can collectively meet as a whole unit. And just because I feel like we're all on the same page here as a board as to the direction we want to go. Relatively speaking, it might not be the same as Macon, might not be the same as
Well,
just
there's
one
always
agreement.
some
That's some give
nuances
and
that are
take.
different, but, you know, that's always the case. You have to come to a compromise. Having a compromise agreement, nobody knows what anybody
Right,
else is talking
everybody
about.
needs,
There's no doubt that there's gonna be, fuss over the agreement, no matter what happens from either side, but we need to come up with an agreement that's gonna make everyone happy, and get this done, because what agreement are they still on the agreement from last year? Are they still abiding by that agreement?
For the last 75 years, been nothing.
Yeah. Mr. Cubis, I'd like to get a copy of that, the original agreement, if you could send that to me, because I have so many different copies, so many different revised copies, I don't know what's what. So if I could get a copy of that, and if you don't mind, if you would highlight the changes, what has been taken out, what has been added.
I think that's the
Make it a lot
red
easier.
edition we just got
Okay.
is.
I would be happy to provide that. And as a matter of fact, uh, there are multiple versions of changes that have been discovered and highlighted and reviewed throughout this process, preceding my time involved with this. So it's taken a fair amount of work to find out, what revisions were done when and by whom and what has been omitted and included and so on and so forth. We believe that we have tracked all that down and have accurate copies of the original, the amended that version that did not disclose changes that weren't noted publicly prior. We think we fleshed all that out, and I'll apologize on behalf of all those who've been working on this for how it has drug out, but it has not been necessarily a straightforward process, and that it is something that we're trying to work through, and make sure that first of all, you as a board are comfortable with it, and that to the extent that we can make everybody happy, that's our ultimate objective. But I'll make sure that you guys have a copy of everything that we have.
Correct.
Just for clarification, you want 2 commissioners from each county?
I think that's
Good starting
a good
point.
starting point
Then
without having a quorum.
Once that happens and they come up with the draft, we think that's going to be the final draft, and I think we need to get everybody in a room, have a joint regional meeting. Does that sound good?
All 3 attorneys, 2 commissioners, you want the managers from each?
I think so.
All right. And what about FRL? You want a representative from there as well?
We do need it. I mean, they're signed party to this agreement. So.
Mr. Cubis, the comments I made have not been officially approved by this board, but, and you may have taken some notes. Would you like me to send you something or get Ms. Winchester on some of the comments I made?
That would be helpful, and the same goes to all members of the board. I welcome your input. Certainly, I've had conversations with some of you, and feel like I've got a good feel on the direction that we want to go on this. But to the extent that there are specific matters you want me to address, by all means, please let me know.
Yeah. I sent out an email to all the commissioners here earlier that had some different agreements from around the region that's not a part of the agreement, and as well as some other states that some of those stuff I'd like to see in there. And, I didn't have your email address, or I would have included you on that. So.
Just thank you for all your work. It just gets really aggravating, the public calling and complaining. It's part of the job, but we really need to get this thing wrapped up in the next month or 2.
I get hammered constantly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Hughes. Any more questions from the board? Okay. Moving on now to some appointments. First up, we have the ABC board. And we've got one and the chair. The ABC board has reappointed Mr. Albert to, he's an active ABC board member, and he is a county appointee, Tom Albert, and he's been unanimously recommended to be reappointed. Also, the county and town by mutual agreement appoints the chair, of the ABC board for the membership of the ABC board. And so with that,
I make a motion to reappoint Tom Albert as our ABC County's rep.
is there a second?
Second.
And do we need to vote on Mr. Nolan as well? Okay, Mr. Nolan has also been recommended, so
I make a motion that we nominate Mr. David Nolan as the ABC chairman.
is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
None opposed. And for Mr. Albert, there was a nomination and a second, but we didn't vote. Is there a
Make that motion.
motion and a second? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
None opposed. Moving on to, let's see, where I lost the list here. Business and Industry Advisory Committee, there's 2 appointees available. John has selected that he wants to remain and not have John. He's done a great job. So is there a motion to reappoint Mr. John Bobex as the chair of the Industry and Business Advisory Committee? And a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
None opposed. And then we also have Nicole Owen, who was filling the expired term of Larry Heaton. Is there a motion to approve Ms. Owen?
So moved.
And a second? Second. All those in favor? None opposed. Moving on now to the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee. Jim Madden has agreed to be appointed to a 3-year term with the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee. Is there a motion to approve Mr. Madden?
I know Mr. Madden, he would make a great addition to that board. I make that motion.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
None opposed. And then lastly, we have Region A Aging Advisory Council, and we have Sarah Jane Melton, who has recommended that Christina Kiska has been serve an additional 3-year term. Is there a motion for motion? Okay, and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
None opposed. And then, any questions from the press tonight? With that, we do have a need to go into closed session for real property and legal. We'll take a quick 5-minute recess and then come back. Closed session, there was no action taken. With no further business, is there a motion to adjourn?
So,
Second. All in favor? Aye. No opposed.